All right, let's get right into it. If you're running a business, any business, or even just building a personal brand, you absolutely need to know what people are saying about you online. But how in the world do you do that without a massive budget? Well, today, we're going to break down the best, actually free social media monitoring tools for 2025. It's time to stop flying blind.
You know, this quote from Alex Carter just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that classic startup problem. You know you need the data, but showing out hundreds of bucks a month for some enterprise tool is just not going to happen. And that's the exact gap these free tools are designed to fill. So, let me ask you, are you flying blind right now? Because every single day, there are thousands of conversations happening about your industry, about your competitors, and yeah, probably about you. If you're not listening in, you're missing out on a huge opportunity.
Okay, before we go any further, let's get one thing super clear. There's a difference between monitoring and listening. What most of these free tools are amazing at is monitoring. That's the act of collecting the mentions. Think of it as the what. Social listening is the next step, analyzing all that data to understand the why behind it all. That's usually a paid feature. So these free tools, they give you the raw ingredients, you just have to bring the analysis.
And believe me, you want those raw ingredients. Why? Because just having these conversations pop up in your inbox can totally change the way you do business.
I mean, we're talking about 4 huge wins here. You can find people who are literally asking for a product just like yours. You can catch a negative comment before it turns into a PR nightmare. You get amazing content ideas by seeing the exact questions your audience is asking. And, my personal favorite, you get to spy on your competition, see what they're doing right, and more importantly, what they're doing wrong. All right, let's get real for a second. We all know free isn't always, well, free. There's usually a catch, and it's really important to understand the trade-offs so you know exactly what you're getting into.
So what is the catch? Well, it's usually a few things. You'll probably have a cap on how many mentions you can see each month and a limit on keywords. The updates won't be instant, think more like every 6 or 12 hours, and you're not going to get those fancy, colorful dashboards. But honestly, even with those limits, these tools are an incredibly powerful place to start.
Okay, with all that groundwork laid, it's time to meet the actual contenders. We've dug through a ton of options to find the tools that give you real, ongoing value without ever asking for a credit card. First up, and my top recommendation for most people, is a tool called Forum Scout. It just hits that perfect sweet spot, you know? It's easy to use, it's genuinely useful, and its free plan is surprisingly generous. Let's just look at the free plan here. You're getting 100 mentions a month. And here's the big one, 10 keywords. That is huge. It's enough to track your own brand, a couple of competitors, and still have some left over to find new customers. It covers the big platforms like Reddit and X, with the main trade-off being that 6-hour delay on updates. So, what's the verdict? It's pretty simple. If you want a solid, set-it-and-forget-it system for general brand monitoring, Forum Scout is your guy. Just don't rely on it for super urgent customer support issues where you need to reply like right now. But what if that 6-hour delay is a deal breaker for you? Well, then you need to meet kwatch.io. This tool's entire identity is built around one thing and one thing only: speed. And here is a perfect example of that trade-off we talked about. You get alerts in near real time, which is incredible for a free tool. But the catch, and it's a big one, is the sources. It only covers Reddit and Hacker News. That's it. This is not a general-purpose tool. It's a highly specialized weapon for a very specific audience. So who is this for? Simple. If your audience lives and breathes on tech forums, and you need to be the first person to jump into a conversation, kwatch.io is going to be your best friend. For pretty much everyone else, though, that source limitation makes it a non-starter.
All right, now for something totally different. F5bot isn't really a business like the others. It's more of a free utility, and it's beautiful in its simplicity. There are no upsells, no complicated dashboards, just free email alerts when your keywords pop up. That's all.
Okay, time for a quick fire round of some other specialized tools. First, Siften gives you a full 14-day pro trial, which is perfect if you just want to test drive a premium tool. Then there's Leadverse, which uses AI to find you actual sales leads on Reddit. For brainstorming content, TrendSearch is a research powerhouse. And finally, a little bonus for you, SparkToro. It gives you deep audience intelligence. It tells you what your customers read, watch, and follow. Super powerful stuff. Phew, okay. So we've looked at a lot of options here, from the all-rounder to the speed demon to some really niche research tools. Now for the most important part, figuring out which one is actually the right choice for you. And that's the big question, isn't it?
With all these different pros and cons, how do you pick the one that's actually going to help your business and not just be another email clogging up your inbox?
Seeing them all side by side like this really makes the trade-offs obvious. You can see Forum Scout's balance right next to Kwatch's raw speed. You see F5Bot's pure simplicity versus the very specific jobs that tools like Leadverse and TrendSearch are built for. It just makes their core purpose crystal clear. You know what? Let's make this even simpler. Here are some direct recommendations. If you're just starting out and you want to cover all your bases, just choose Forum Scout. If speed on tech forums is literally all that matters to you, go get kwatch.io. If you want the absolute simplest alerts possible, it's F5Bot, no question. And if your only goal is to find new leads, go test the waters with Leadverse.
Okay, great. You've picked your tool. Now what? Well, the final piece of this puzzle is setting it up for success right from day one. Let's quickly walk through a super powerful, simple keyword setup.
This is a fantastic starting point, especially for a tool like Forum Scout. First, track your brand name. Easy. Then, a common misspelling of it. You'd be surprised. Next, track your top 2 competitors. But here's where it gets clever. Track a problem keyword, something like need a good accountant, and a recommendation keyword, like any recommendations for an accountant. This is how you go from just monitoring to actually finding new customers.
And that really brings us to the most important takeaway of all this. Getting the alerts is just step 1. The real magic, the thing that will actually grow your business, happens when you use that information to engage. Thank people for their kind words, offer genuine help to people with problems, and just become a valuable part of the conversation.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Right now, at this very moment, somebody out there is having a conversation online that could lead to your next customer, your next great product idea, or your next big win. The only question is, are you there to hear it?